I get asked a lot, have I been to certain theme parks and would I like to go to certain theme parks? And so I figured let's just make a list of a number of theme parks I would absolutely love to go to that I haven't visited yet. I've been blessed that over the years I've been able to visit a lot of different theme parks. Some I never dreamed I would get the chance to visit. I mean, this last year I got to go to Disneyland Paris and back to Cedar Point and got to visit a number of places I never thought I would. There's still a pretty long list of places I would absolutely love to go visit if I ever had the opportunity. And while I don't expect to ever actually get to visit many of the places on this list, these would be ones that if I could just go anywhere and had no problem with money and other stuff, these would be some of the parks I would love to visit that I have not been to yet. And let me restate that. These are all parks I have not been to. If there's a park that's not mentioned in this video, it's probably because I've been there already. Or I just totally spaced out and forgot about it. So to make this a little easier, I'm actually going to be talking more about regions and then the parks in that region. Rather than just trying to list all the parks, there's a bunch here, so it's a little easier to keep track of this way. I'm going to start off actually down under in Australia. There's a couple parks there I would absolutely love to go visit. Australia's got some great parks from everything I've heard, but there's two that seem to really stand out. One is Dream World, where it's got a couple great coasters. Buzzsaw coaster in particular looks like it would be really cool. So I would love to get down to Dream World and visit that. Also, Warner Brothers Movie World. I love the studios kinds of parks, and really kind of upset that the ones that were here in the States are really kind of getting away from that. But it also really almost looks like a Six Flags park in Australia. It's got the DC superheroes, it's got the Looney Tunes, and I love both of those. The nerd in me comes out. It's got some great looking coasters. It just looks like a really neat park. So those would be the two down under I would probably really want to go to first. But hey, if I actually got the chance to go to Australia, there's all sorts of stuff I'd love to see there. Asia also has a couple parks that I would absolutely love to see. I did actually get an opportunity to go to Asia back in 1987 when I was in high school, but it was part of a tour group, and these parks on this list didn't exist at all, and the one that was there in Hong Kong was much smaller, nothing like it is now. I'll just make this easy for Asia. Disney. You've got Disneyland Hong Kong, which didn't exist when I was there, but it would be a lot of fun to go to. You've got the Disney Tokyo parks, of course, which have some incredible looking parks there. Disney Sea, from everything I've heard, is just awe-inspiring. And then, of course, Disneyland Shanghai. Oh my goodness, if you've seen some of the footage of some of the rides there, this park is nuts. So I would absolutely love to go to Disney. Anybody want to send me like $10,000, $15,000 to help me go? Yeah, this is definitely a pie in the sky dream, and I don't expect it to ever happen. There are also some other great parks in Japan. Some parks with incredible coasters and rides that I would love to be able to check out. And my mind goes blank because I forgot to write them on my list. But there's a lot in Japan. I probably could easily spend a month in Japan just by itself. And then you add in all the Disney stuff and everything. Yeah, that would be really, really cool. There are a number of parks here in the States as well that I would absolutely love to go visit. I actually have not ever been up around the New England area, so if you get above Washington, D.C., I pretty much haven't been there. I've been to Maryland, but no New York, no Massachusetts, nothing up in that region, nothing in Canada so far. I got some in Pennsylvania, so there's a number of parks up in there I really love to be able to get to. Six Flags Great Adventure, everybody thinks that one with El Toro and with King Ka, and some of the other incredible coasters that are there. Batman the Dark Knight, Bizarro. I love the Medusa West version, and so I imagine I would like that one. Six Flags New England, of course, has Superman, Batman, Thunderbolt, Wicked Cyclone. Just some great coasters just between those two Six Flags parks. And I have a Six Flags membership. It would just be a matter of covering the transportation and the hotels and the food and all the expensive stuff. It ain't happening this year. I don't know when it would happen anytime soon just because of budgets. But also up in that area, we had a lot of parks in Pennsylvania on one trip, but I didn't make it to Hershey. I would love to go to Hershey. It looks like such a cool park with some fantastic rides and coasters, but also the whole chocolate theme and the way they carry it out. It just looks really cool, and hey, I love chocolate. Maybe too much. Maybe I should love chocolate a little less. There are a couple other parks here in the States I haven't been to. Silverwood up in Idaho, I would love to get to at some point. It's not a large park, but it has a couple of fantastic coasters, very highly rated, so I'd love to be able to get up there at some point. Also, even though I've been to almost all of Texas, I have not been to the parks in San Antonio. Really need to get Six Flags Fiesta Texas and SeaWorld down there. I just haven't been able to work those out yet. So they're kind of on the list, and those I'm a little more optimistic I might get to visit here in the next couple years because it's a doable trip. But, who knows. But those are really kind of the parks in the States. So, up in New England, and I can't forget Carowinds. I have not been to Carowinds or Kings Dominion. There's a couple other parks I really, really would like to go to. The hard part with those is, on a couple trips to visit family that was living in Virginia at the time, I drove right past them. Saw the gate, saw the entrance, and went, bye, I'd love to go. And it just hasn't happened. Some point I would dearly love to get to those parks. There's actually a couple other parks in North America I would love to get to. And again, up in Canada, Canada's Wonderland is up there. And then there's also the park up in Quebec. I have to admit, Quebec has a little more pull for me because my family history, if you look at my last name, it's been spelled and spelled again in a different way. And originally the family comes from French Quebec. In fact, my family actually traces back to some of the early settlers of Quebec City. I'm on those pillars that are there. Not my last name, but the people that he married. So I'd love to get up to Quebec just to explore the family history. And then, of course, there's a wonderful park there I'd love to go to while I'm there. That's a trip I would absolutely love to be able to do at some point. I don't know. We've also got family down in Ontario as well. And so, again, that's where Canada's Wonderland would go in. And, if I go on a trip for something, like family history or exploring something else, and there's a park nearby, well, hey, I gotta go check it out. After all, that's how I managed to get to the park in Costa Rica and the couple in Colombia. And, it makes a great excuse. But probably the place I would love to explore the most, and like I said, pie in the sky dream, give me about 2 months or so to just travel all over Europe. There are so many incredible parks in Europe. I was blessed to be able to go to Paris, France, and spend about a week there, and that was absolutely incredible. I was almost a little disappointed, not with the trip as a whole, but when we got there, of course, I had to look up Parc Astrid, and it was closed for the season because we were there kind of early. If it had been open, I would have found a way to get to it. And several of these parks I'm going to mention, I will probably mispronounce the names. Sorry. Europa Park looks absolutely incredible. It's got some very unique rides and some unique theming. So that's one in Germany I would love to get to. Efteling in the Netherlands. Again, this would be another family history trip because my grandmother's family is Dutch originally. And, hey, it'd be a great excuse. I'd love to be able to explore so much in Holland. And, hey, while we were there, visit a park that was rumored to inspire Walt. Truth be told, he actually probably never visited Efteling, but it's supposed to be an incredible park. But if I'm in the area, of course, I would want to go over to Denmark to visit the park he definitely did visit and that helped inspire Disneyland. That would be Tivoli Gardens. Just a gorgeous park. Those two as a whole just have so much. The atmosphere for me would be wonderful. I love the thrill rides, but there's so much besides that in those parks. Alton Towers. Now, if I want to get into thrill rides, England's got some parks with some incredible thrill rides. Alton Towers has Nemesis, Oblivion, Rita, Smiler, Wicker Man. I mean, it's got some great coasters that here I look sitting in Missouri going, I'd love to get to those. Oblivion, of course, I've been on a couple dive coasters that are much bigger than Oblivion, but it was the first dive coaster. And then some of the theming they put in place there, it would be really cool. And then, of course, there's a ton of other parks in Europe. Thorpe Park is on there, Leesburg, Phantasialand, Hyde Park, Warner Park in Madrid's got some very cool looking rides. Wallaby World, Chessington and Blackpool in England. There's just so much there. In fact, some of the oldest theme parks, some of the oldest rides are actually in England. And oh, how cool would it be to go on one of the old switchback railways, which was really kind of the original model for our roller coasters now. And guess what? There's actually one in England, and how much would I love to go on that? So there's a ton of places in Europe. I could easily, like I say, if money was no object and time worked, I could spend a couple months just cruising Europe. Not just hitting the parks, but seeing so much more as well. That would be an incredible trip, but... Oh, a guy can dream, can't he? And I'm sure you've got dreams too. I'd love if you could go any place, where would you dream of going? Another thing I get asked a lot is, have I been on a cruise, especially the Disney cruise? I get asked all the time, have I been on the Disney cruise? No, I have not. I've never been on a cruise, outside of whale watching a couple times. If you're thinking multi-day cruise, nope, never been on one. Closest I came was I got to film a commercial on the Disney Cruise Line boat early in the morning. We got on the boat at like 5 in the morning, and we were leaving at like 11 o'clock noon as they were announcing the guests getting on the boat. So, never been on a cruise, but so many different places. You know what's interesting, though? The places that are not on this list. Africa? There are a couple places in the United Arab Emirates that would look like they'd be pretty cool. Ferrari World is there, and there's a Warner Brothers park there. I don't know, those just don't interest me as much. Even though they're almost totally inside, just the whole heat thing, too much heat for me. A lot of Asia doesn't have much either. If you get into the western part of Asia, and then the southern part, there's not a whole lot there I'd be interested in either. But Europe has a ton. East Asia has several, Australia, and then several here in the States. So, gosh, wouldn't it be cool to get paid to travel? What parks would you like to see? Which ones do you think I should visit that I haven't? If you want to know what parks I've visited, check my SirWillow page on Facebook. There's a link there, or even SirWillow.com. I do have links to the list of coasters I've been on, and that'll tell you pretty much most of the parks. And again, if I haven't mentioned in the video, at least in the States, I've probably been to it. But I'd love to hear what parks you'd love to go to that you've never experienced. Which ones do you think would be totally cool? Feel free to share it in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like and share the video as well. And if you haven't subscribed, hit that button too. Check the description. There is a whole ton of information there. Links and merchandise and collector pins and all sorts of other stuff too. So be sure to check the description. And thank you so much for watching. God bless. This could be interesting. I got my list print small. You can see it. Okay. Also, Warner...